Well, you're saying that I can't actually know anything, right?
Well, it's God, the perception of God is something nobody knows.
Well, how do you know anything?
How are you so sure to say that?
How do you know that you exist?
I'm not trying to say that. I agree with everything.
Oh, you're just assuming that your consciousness is attached to your body. You're assuming that your senses and your perceptions are giving you the correct perception of reality.
Okay.
Real.
Okay,
Right,
so
if God wasn't real, you wouldn't be able to trust your senses and your consciousness. The proof that God exists is that without him, you couldn't prove anything. You're saying we got to prove things, and you know that we can prove things.
You have to prove things. I'm saying
Okay.
I don't disregard God. It's just okay. Just the same as I could believe he's there or not there. It's the same thing. It's the same. Different. It's the polar opposites of paths, but they're the same types of paths. Does that make sense?
Well, I'm saying everybody puts their faith in something. You need to put your faith in the worldview that actually makes sense of reality. Trust it.
How does it make
Trusting.
sense in reality if it's not concrete? Like you said, here's sunglasses. You're standing on a sidewalk. So
Well, how do you know it's concrete? How do you know that material reality even exists? Like, how do you know that material reality even exists? Like, how do you know you're not in some kind of giant illusion right
I'm
now?
holding a cigarette right now. Can I hold?
Okay, but maybe you're in a dream and you're sleeping on a bed in reality. How do you know? You're right, so you don't have all knowledge. You don't know everything, right?
Right.
I don't know everything. So we shouldn't put our faith in ourselves. We should put our faith in what God, who knows everything, has revealed to us.
And I respect that, but also you have to understand that there are other things that people might believe, and it's the same thing.
Well, no, other people believe those things, but what they're believing is self-contradictory, and it doesn't make sense of reality. So, like, if any of us is trusting in ourselves, in our limited knowledge, our consciousness that doesn't know everything, right? If God doesn't exist, how do we know that what we're observing in science is actually there? How do we know our senses aren't lying to us?
It makes sense. It makes sense. It's there. Everything lines up. It's there. Science is science. God is something. Okay, if you obviously you're a smart person. I can tell you're intelligent.
Yes.
Okay. Human nature, psychology, things that we in the past, in history, before we even thought about being here, before people before us thought about being here. Human nature, the sun, we don't know where it came from. Everybody, they get uncomfortable when they think about, oh well, we don't know how to explain this. We don't know how to where this came from. Everybody goes ahead and assumes that it's from a higher power. It gives you relief to know that it's something, but it might not be.
Well, I'm saying.
Psychology says that anything we don't know the answers to, we put up to a higher belief because that gives us a sense of comfort.
Well, I'm saying, how do we know the answers to anything?
Well, you said you believe in science.
Right. I'm saying I believe in science because I believe.
Says that human nature will put anything we don't have the answers to a higher power because that gives ourselves psychology or psychological comfort.
Okay, but but what do you use to take in that information? You're using your senses, right?
Right.
But your senses could be deceiving you, right?
How?
Well, how can you trust your senses? How do you know?
You can't trust your senses,
how do you know that they're valid? How do you know that they're real? How do you know?
God is real? What do you use to trust in God? Senses?
Because if God wasn't real, I couldn't trust my senses. I have to, we all put our faith in something. Don't put your faith in random senses that you don't know where they came from or what they are. Put your faith in senses that are created by God, who made you with senses and a consciousness so that you can make sense of reality and operate on the planet that he created so that you could glorify him. In that worldview.
Physiology from science.
Right, but you're using your senses to look at that science. You're using your senses to validate your senses. That's circular reasoning that doesn't work. So we should put our faith not in our senses that we just think, oh.
In a feeling?
Do you believe in evolution?
Yeah.
Okay, if your senses are the result of different chemical reactions.
Well, okay, it's not necessarily that I believe in evolution, but it's just that evolution makes the most sense.
Well, it doesn't, because if matter in motion moves around and comes together to form us and our brains, we can't trust that chemical reactions that randomly came together are actually producing a consciousness that's giving us the correct perception of reality.
They both don't take place at the same time. How do you not know that both beliefs are together?
Well, I'm saying...
I'm not saying God isn't real. I'm not saying God is real, but I'm just asking you, how do you know that it's not just one huge thing together and it's not one or the other?
Well, I don't believe that God used evolution to create us. I don't think that's really portrayed in the Bible.
How do you know that the person who translated the Bible was in their right mind? How do you know that their beliefs are real?
Because if the Bible isn't true, we can't know anything. If we don't have
Maybe God doesn't want us to know everything.
if we don't have a revelation from the one who knows everything, we, with our limited knowledge, who don't know everything, we can't know anything, because we could always be wrong about the nature of reality. So instead of trusting in ourselves, who don't have all knowledge, we should put our faith in the worldview in which God, who has all knowledge, has declared to us what the nature of reality is, and in a worldview that provides the preconditions for intelligibility. So instead of having a worldview in which we randomly evolved out of stardust, and that doesn't provide the preconditions for intelligibility, we should have a worldview in which God made us with bodies and minds to be able to take in correct information and make sense of reality in this planet for his glory, to carry out his plan. So, you see what I'm saying? Like, in an evolutionary worldview, for all we know, everything we're experiencing is just different random chemical reactions fizzing in different parts of the universe, creating the illusion, creating the sensation, the images of like a succession of events in somebody's life.
Okay.
For all we know, that's what's happening. If we believe that matter in motion bumps around and creates a consciousness. But I'm saying that doesn't make sense. That doesn't provide the precondition for intelligibility. No, but you're putting your faith in that. That is faith. If you're an atheistic evolutionist, that's what you're putting your faith in. That's what atheistic evolutionists put their faith in. They put their faith in the world, the universe is material, and it came about through a big bang, and all these atoms and molecules bumped around, and they came together and formed these things.
I don't really believe in evolution. I just believe that it was something. It's out of my, I don't know, it's out of my knowledge. It's out of your
Right, you don't know, right?
So nobody knows. Maybe we're not supposed to know. Why does it matter if we know?
If we don't know, that's why we shouldn't put our faith in ourselves, because we don't have all knowledge. Yes, you're putting your faith in what your consciousness is telling you, and you're using your own interpretation of reality. I'd encourage you, turn to Jesus Christ, ma'am.